people can change and stuff like that. I'm not that person anymore. That something that happened in my past shouldn't have to affect me 4 or 5 years down the road.
That was Jake Wood back in 2019 during a criminal record expungement day. Criminal justice reform can mean different things to different people. Some people might equate reform to anti-police sentiments or shifting of taxes from one group to another. But the criminal justice system, no matter how you look at it, has a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of laws. As society changes, the laws and the approaches to criminal justice can change too. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on criminal record expungement. What happens when someone is convicted of a crime, serves his or her time, does everything right, but is still weighted down by having a criminal record? That record can be a barrier to housing and finding a job. But if they can expunge their record, if they can meet certain requirements, that's a prime area for criminal justice reform. However, it can be a difficult, expensive, and time-consuming process. Joining us now live via Zoom is Katie Cardasano, a licensed social worker. Katie, thanks so much for joining us tonight and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Katie, I'd like to start with your personal experience. Could you share what happened in your early life that got you in trouble?
My family, we moved around a lot. And so it was very difficult for me to make friends and to be a part of. So at age 14, I found comfort in drugs and alcohol. And for the next decade, literally, drugs and alcohol consumed my life. It was a very, very dark time. And then when I was 23, I started getting in trouble with the law. And many people in the criminal justice system will tell you, once you're in it, it's really hard to get out of it. You start getting in trouble and you keep getting in trouble. And so the last time I was arrested, I was in a really bad car accident and I went to jail. So that is kind of my moment when it was the gift of desperation. I wanted so badly to change, but I had no idea how.
What happened after that? What did the judge order for you?
So the judge, I actually asked the judge if he would send me to prison because I didn't think that I could be saved. I didn't think I could be helped. I didn't think that I could change. And he did not oblige. And he court ordered me to long-term treatment and probation on adult probation and parole. And I specifically remember him saying, I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this to save your life. And he did. So he ordered me to long-term treatment. I completed all of the requirements. I did a lot of intensive therapy. I had a strong, sober community. And so I did everything to be rehabilitated. And when I wanted to start my life and go to college and do those things, my criminal record was a huge barrier for me and was for the next several years.
What an incredible story. You then committed to helping others and became a licensed therapist. How did that journey come about and how did you end up in the position that you are now?
There's a lot of addiction in my family. And I was one of those people that I thought could not be saved. And when I changed, I wanted to help the people that I love. So I decided to become a substance abuse counselor. And when I got into school, I decided to go all the way. And I got my master's degree. And now I'm the clinical director of Balance House. It was an incredible journey, but it was a mountain that I had to climb with a criminal record.
But now you're so much stronger and you're using that knowledge and that experience to help others. Now you mentioned this earlier that you still had issues with your criminal record. So what was your experience like trying to work towards expungement? I'm trying to envision or put myself in your shoes to just understand how hard was that process?
Oh my gosh, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to face. I couldn't get housing. I couldn't get a job. I was having trouble getting a driver's license. Applications for school, every time I applied to get into a program or an internship, I had to get certified court documents, and then I had to explain all of my charges in depth. I probably did that 15 times all throughout college. And it was so embarrassing and shaming. I mean, here I was, 7 years sober. I had done all the work and I was still being rejected because of my past. And I can understand why people give up because it was such a grueling process. My expungement alone took almost 3 years and thousands of dollars before everything was actually cleared up. So it was, the barriers were so great that many moments I wanted to just quit. It just became not worth it because it was so stressful and embarrassing and shameful. And I just didn't think it was possible for it to end.
Yeah, it's
So,
such a long journey just to get to that point. And then when you're trying to turn your life around, it's difficult for there to still be challenges and barriers and discrimination. Going through that process for years, what was it like for you to finally have your record expunged? I'm trying to envision what that was like for you emotionally and mentally.
oh, I'm probably going to get emotional when I talk about it. So I went through so much. I had been rejected by multiple courts because I hadn't printed the right papers or I didn't have the right signatures. It wasn't in the time frame. So there were so many things. So one day I was at my house and I got a letter saying your criminal record has been removed from the FBI record, and I didn't believe it. I was like, this is a hoax. So I went to BCI and got my own background check. And when it said no criminal record found, I mean, as I talk about it, it was one of the most rewarding days of my life. I was dancing outside of BCI and not well, I will tell you, but
But
it was
who cares? Who cares? You have
right.
been through so much. That's a happy
Yes.
dance, and it
Yeah.
was a day of celebration. We've got about
It
30
was.
seconds left, but I really want to get this question in. The next time that there is an expungement day, you shared with us that you will be there. What's going to be your role this time at the event?
I think I just want to help guide and show other people that no matter what they've been through, if they're committed to the process, they will have people that will love and support them and walk them through it. So I want to be there as a guide and a motivator to keep going, and to just be an example for others to show that it really can happen. So that is my main role.
I absolutely love that, because when you're there speaking to these people and they say, I don't know if I can do this, you're going to be there and say, you can do it because I've been there and I did it, and I'm going to help you get through this. So that's incredible. All right. You've been hearing from Katie Cardizano, Clinical Director of Balance House. Katie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know it wasn't easy, but we appreciate you being here and making time to be on the show.
Thank you so much, Rosie.
We basically just decide at that point, you know what, you deserve a break. You've done everything we've asked you to do, paid your debt to society, and now it's time to have a chance to move on, and that's what this bill does.
That was former state representative Eric Hutchings back in March 2019, talking about his efforts to reform the criminal justice system. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on criminal record expungement. Joining us now live in studio is the person you saw at the top of the segment, Eric Hutchings, former state representative from Kearns, and criminal justice policy consultant Noella Sudbury. Eric and Noella, thank you both for being here tonight and joining our conversation.
Sure.
Let's start with Noella. Before we jump into exactly how someone expunges their record under Utah law, Noella, can you tell us why this issue is important to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I jump into that, thank you for having me on the show. And thank you to Katie, who shared her story. That takes so much courage and is so brave. And every time I hear it, I'm so inspired by it. And I think these stories show that people are not alone, and having a criminal record is really common. So you asked why this issue is important. First of all, it is incredibly common and affects a lot of people. 1 in 4 people in Utah has some type of criminal record. And a lot of people believe that your criminal record just disappears or drops off over a certain period of time. It doesn't. When you commit a crime, the record of that crime stays forever unless you go through a legal expungement process. And this can make it really difficult for people to move forward. The second reason is, in a digital age, a lot of people have access to your records. 9 out of 10 landlords, 4 out of 5 employers do background checks. So you have all of these people like Katie wanting to move forward, find a job, get safe housing, go back to school, get an education, volunteer in their kids' school. But that criminal record really makes it difficult for people to move forward.
When you say 1 in 4 Utahns have some type of criminal record, that means all of us most likely know somebody, right? Has a loved one or a friend that has a criminal record. Now, Eric, tell us about expunging a criminal record under Utah law. What can be expunged and when can it be expunged?
You know, it's a good question, and thank you for bringing the subject up. We've been working on this for years because originally you couldn't do a whole lot. And for those of you out there who may currently understand that maybe your record is not expungible, it's not the case anymore. We have worked so hard over the last few years to make it so that regardless of what it is, unless you've done something truly scary, there's a very good chance that yours is expungible. And so you have to start at the Bureau of Criminal Identification, start at BCI, Katie mentioned that, and go through that process. The easy ones, the kind of more straightforward ones, get covered there. And then you can go through, if it doesn't get covered there, there's an additional process that we've just created that's kind of unique in the country that can take care of really complex ones. And some people have some really complex criminal histories, and for some of them, kind of like Katie mentioned, it's not their whole lives. That's not who they are. It's just that they went through a phase and man, they got a rap sheet built up. And we're in a place now in the state of Utah where we can actually go in and address those. So as long as it's not something really scary where you hurt another person badly, there's a very good chance if you've served your time, you've paid restitution and all that, that we can help you get that cleared up now.
Now, Noella, I want to talk about Expungement Day. I'm going to combine this into like a two-part question. First of all, how did the idea of Expungement Day come about? And then tell us how that led into a piece of legislation called Clean Slate.
Sure. So the idea of Expungement Day started in December 2017. At the time, I was working for Salt Lake County as the Criminal Justice Advisory Council Director, and got a phone call from somebody at the Department of Workforce Services saying that their department was trying to help people find jobs, but that people with criminal records were finding barriers to employment. And they asked, could you come down to the Metro Center and do a workshop on criminal record expungement? Well, in my former role, I had been an attorney and had had some experience helping people with the expungement process. And I didn't think a workshop was going to be very helpful for a couple of reasons. The expungement process is really complex and it's also really costly. And so I didn't think telling people how to do it was really going to make that big of a difference, but I was really excited to collaborate on something. And so I said, why don't we do something different? Why don't we try to get everybody in the system who works on a criminal record expungement, the attorneys, the judges, the clients, the community partners, prosecutors, in one room and try to streamline the expungement process into one day and clear as many records as we possibly can. So that's kind of where the idea started, and they said, sure, let's do it. We put an ad in the newspaper that said, call this number if you want to sign up. It happened to be my office voicemail, which for the next several months was full. I couldn't keep it empty. Just tons and tons of need out there. And on April 5th, 2018, we had our first expungement day. And it was an amazing day. I think it will continue to be one of the most impactful days of my professional career. I remember arriving at 6 a.m. to set up, and there was already a huge line of people who had driven from all over the state in hopes that they could meet with an attorney to get their criminal record expunged.
And that just really shows, right, the need of how many people really need the services that are provided on Expungement Day. Noella and Eric, let's hold that thought real quick. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll continue this in-focus discussion on criminal record expungement. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on criminal record expungement. Before the break, former State Representative Eric Hutchings and criminal justice policy consultant Noella Sudbury joined us for a live discussion. We pick up now right where we left off. Eric, tell us about the piece of legislation that you sponsored. What is the clean slate policy, and was it difficult to get it through the legislature?
No, actually it wasn't. And Noella teed it up very nicely that it was a conversation about what else can we do. The process is hard. Anybody who's been through the criminal justice system recognizes that even if you're well trained, even if you have been through the process, even if you are an attorney, it's not easy. And so Clean Slate was designed to take care of the easy stuff, things that you shouldn't have to deal with, and really get us started off on taking a long, hard look as a state and as a legislature about what things do we really care about, what things do we really want to know about, and what things, once you've paid your fines, paid your fees, paid your time, what do we just honestly don't really care about? And it wasn't. It's kind of the really neat thing about working on legislation like this. There was tremendous bipartisan support because it just made sense. People kind of assumed that at some point some of those criminal records just dropped off, like traffic tickets or whatever, and they don't. And so this created another avenue, again, unique in the nation, that allows for the simple ones to be taken care of, and it becomes a bit automated. It doesn't handle more complex criminal records, but it is going to cover literally hundreds of thousands of criminal records that people have dealt with in the state.
Noella, obviously this past year we couldn't gather for the annual expungement day because of COVID-19. How did you guys work around that to continue this event or these types of services?
Yeah, so I'm no longer working for the county, but I know Mayor Wilson is so committed to this issue along with her criminal policy team, and they're actually continuing to do expungement day events virtually. They do them over WebEx. I have had the benefit of participating as a volunteer attorney, and they're terrific. And the great thing about that is it allows people to tune in from all across the state.
Now this next question is for both of you. I'll start with Eric. When people talk criminal justice reform, they rarely think about things like expungement. Where else in the system does work need to be done?
There's actually a lot of really good bipartisan areas that some has already been done. It's very encouraging. So for those of you out there that feel like there's no momentum or no progress, it is just so not the case. But other areas like being able to get a job. So once your record is expunged, that's one thing, but what do I do in between? How do I get myself back? How do I earn the money to pay the fines and the fees? And there's been tremendous work done at professional licensing, the Department of Professional Licensing, to help with that. And there's also an awful lot more conversation about what's the right way. And you heard Katie talk about it. Is jail time really the best way, or is it smart on crime, or is it just hard on crime? And data, fortunately, data is helping to drive that conversation because we can see the outcomes now. We're tracking those. We know different things that can help people, and it's not always time behind bars. Sometimes. And we have a beautiful new prison being built for people who want to be really bad actors. But for those people who want to get their lives back on track, we need to create some exits off of the freeway, and that's what a lot of this expungement legislation has done.
Noella, chime in here now. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it, what is something you would like to see reform in the system right now?
I think if I had to pick one thing, in addition to seeing Clean Slate actually be implemented, I'd love to see us talk more about prevention, diversion, and alternatives to incarceration that can keep people with mental health and substance use issues out of the system in the first place. I'd love to start having serious conversations about treating these issues as health issues and how we can work together to get people connected to the help that they need.
And real quick, where can someone go if they want more information about this?
About criminal record expungement or getting help? Or okay.
Yes.
Salt Lake County has some terrific resources put together. I shared a website that I hope you'll share with all of your viewers.
It's up on the screen right now. Yes, we see it.
Wonderful. Yes, it's a great toolkit that provides information and forms and access to a free expungement navigator who can help you get started on clearing your record today.
Perfect. You've been hearing from former State Representative Eric Hutchings and criminal justice policy consultant Noella Sudbury. Thank you both for being here tonight and participating in our discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.